Hello, everybody, and welcome in. How are we all today? It's been a day for me. Not a super. Okay, it was a busy day at work. I'm also noticing my camera's twisted a bit. Ignore the helmet. It's just plugged in and charging. You can still see it a little bit, but it's there. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's a motorcycle helmet. I think it's well established I have a motorcycle. I haven't gotten to ride it this week because the weather's been crummy every single time I'm either going to or coming from work, or sometimes both. But during the day, while I'm at work, it ends up being beautiful, and I'm so annoyed with it. Also, Sunblade, welcome in. How are you today? Are you having a good day? Is it better than Tuesday? That's the important thing. We're trying to make improvements on our days. Doing better, yes. Excellent. I'm doing worse in a different way. Like, we don't worry about it. We'll get to that part of the story later. We got to talk about the rest of everything first. I feel you. Yeah, this whole week's just been a bit funky. The past 3 weeks at this point have been weird in their own right and in their own sense. But at least we're getting back towards a normal. So maybe we'll be able to figure this out. But no. Work wasn't bad. It was just what I was working on. If you remember from Tuesday's stream, I was talking about how we were we were essentially chasing a phantom problem and we couldn't actually prove it existed. We just had like a hunch that it was there. So we put everything back together. Guess what? We had a completely different failure today. So after we spent an entire day trying to prove something wasn't working so that we could fix it, figuring out that it wasn't broken in the first place, put everything back together, something else broke this time. So welcome to engineering. We took something apart, we put it back together, we fixed the original problem, but broke something else. So I got to spend most of my day figuring out how to get all that fixed, which I wasn't the one who actually had to fix it. I just had to get the responsible people involved and get them to do everything. So it wasn't like it was that bad. It would have been a lot more running around than I did today, but that's the next story we're going to get to. What? Okay, well, never mind. Ket's not going to tell his story. But yeah, so I didn't mention anything Tuesday because I didn't see a point. But Tuesday morning I woke up and I had some weird kind of pain in the ball of my foot, kind of right at the base of the toes. And I was like, that's funky. I guess I slept on my leg in a weird position, or my foot was in a weird position, something. It got a cramp overnight. Not a big deal. Carry on with my day. It will fix itself. And it sort of did. By a little after lunchtime, I was walking normal again. It didn't really hurt. Didn't really notice it unless I was kind of kicking my own foot, in which case I'm kicking my own foot. Obviously, it's going to, kind of feel like something. So I was like, okay, cool. That whole problem fixed itself. And then, did the stream Tuesday. Had that whole, fun event. We played Portal 2 if you weren't here and you missed it. The VOD is available here on Twitch. It'll be on YouTube towards the end of October. I want to say one of the last days of October. But after that, I went to bed. And then when I woke up in the morning, I had the same pain in my foot again, but this time it was twice as bad. And I was like, ooh, it actually kind of hurts today. I was kind of limping a little bit Wednesday morning, and I was like, this doesn't feel super great. So I was like, we're going to take it easy. I'm supposed to go to the gym this afternoon. We'll skip the gym. We'll just kick my feet up. We'll get a bit of work done at home, no big deal, just stay off the feet. So I ended up working on YouTube and streaming stuff like I kind of planned. I just started on it earlier in the day rather than getting home from work, going to the gym, and then working on it. So, got home, showered, worked on the YouTube stuff, and then went to bed. But was feeling more or less okay by the point, like by the time I was going to bed. I woke up this morning and it had gotten twice as bad again. This time I could barely walk in the morning, and I was like, you gotta be kidding me. There's clearly something actually wrong. So, no, like when I woke up in the morning, like an hour before my alarm, it wasn't even just like I woke up like at my normal time. I was awake at like, I want to say it was like 5:45, 5:50, which is an hour before my first alarm goes off. And I couldn't fall back asleep. So I was sitting there like just staring at my phone and, wasting time until it got a little closer to when I would have to get up. And then like I get up, I go to the bathroom, brush my teeth, I'm getting dressed, I'm looking at I'm staring at my foot. I'm like, nothing visually looks wrong. Granted, I didn't have like a light on in my room. Like it was fairly dark. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen or if you remember like the old days of back when I wasn't using a bunch of lights. Like it gets fairly dark in here this time of day. So I was staring at my feet in that, darker setting, and I'm like, they don't look different visually. Like the left foot looks fine, but so does the right foot. But the right foot, I can't stand on it right now. So I text my mom like the second I get to work, which was like relatively early for myself. Like I'm not known for showing up super early, but I got to work like a little after 7 as opposed to like nearly 8 o'clock. And I like text my mom and I'm like, so here's all the symptoms, this is where it hurts. I'm on day 3. What are we thinking is the treatment plan here? Is this like a ibuprofen? Is this an ice thing? I don't have like a walking boot, like for if you like sprain your ankle, you normally get those like the gray like boot things. I'm like, I don't have one of those because it's in your basement. I didn't think I needed it. What are the thoughts? What are we thinking here? What is the goal? How am I going to get through this? And my mom replies back. She goes, did you do anything? Like, you just woke up and it hurt? And I was like, yeah, I just woke up and it hurt. And she goes, strange. Maybe if it sticks around, you might want to go see a doctor. And I was like, yeah, I'm on day 3. I can barely walk. I had to limp through the rain to get to my desk this morning. So then we started playing phone tag of me and her trying to relay information back and forth to each other about like health insurance and everything, because I'm still on my parents' health insurance, but my parents live 500 miles away. So we had to find somewhere that was considered in network where I am so that I wouldn't have to make a 500-mile drive home. And I was like, that's fine and everything. We won't have to worry about that. So we finally figured out like where I had to go. And there was a couple options actually once we figured it out. But so there was a couple options, but it was all essentially the same place. It was like little satellite locations of like an urgent care. But it was like, cool, fine and dandy. Once I leave work, I can get the show on the road. Says online they take walk-ins. You can see online like the estimated wait time. It was like 15 minutes, and I was like, not even worth like trying to put my name in ahead of time or whatever. I'm just gonna show up. So because I showed up to work early, I was able to leave work a bit early. That way I'm still only doing 8-hour days and I'm not starting to go overtime and stuff like that. So I make sure my coworkers are aware. I'm like, hey, I know I'm leaving 45 minutes early, but I got here 45 minutes early. I'm gonna take off, gonna go pop into an urgent care, see what's going on, see if they can figure out what's going on. So I leave work, come home, I grab my like insurance information and everything because I don't carry that around with me all the time. Speaking of which, did I put it away? I might not have. I need to remember to do that later. But I show up to the urgent care. I park. I got like one of the closest spots to the door because it was basically empty. I get out of my car, kind of, hobble and limp my way in, through the double door and right up to the desk, which was like right there. And I was just like, hi, it says you guys take walk-ins. Does that also include hobble-ins? Because this woman who was standing behind the desk, ready to check me in, watched me limp my ass all the way from the car, like up to the desk. Wasn't quite as amused as I was with my little, haha, funny pun, my little joke. So I'm like, all right, this is off to a great start. This is the exact reason I don't enjoy going to doctor's offices. I am too sarcastic and silly and goofy, which means they're going to ask me questions. I'm going to answer them honestly, but I'm going to not necessarily just give like a straight, yes. That Where's the fun in that? We got to have some fun. So I get myself checked in. They tell me, oh, you're not next in line. There's one person in front of you. If you go have a seat, it'll probably be about 15 to 20 minutes. And I'm like, sounds great. I sit down, and that's when I started tweeting everything. So if you follow me on Twitter, you might have already seen like most of this story. Or if you want to read ahead and, read all the spoilers, you can grab the link right there. What? All right. But yeah, if you want to go see the spoilers, they were right there, or they're there or over there or wherever chat currently is for you. So, but I get called back in from like the waiting room into like the observation whatever room that like they're gonna check me. They have the nurse come in to do like the pre-screening whatever. And the nurse is like asking me like basic questions, like how, like, what's your date of birth to confirm I'm the right person for who checked in. And then they're asking, what's your weight? What's your height? They took like my blood pressure, my temperature, like the basic stuff that you typically would expect. And then one of the questions that the nurse asked me was, what is the name of your primary care physician? Like, who is the doctor you would typically go to if you weren't coming to this urgent care? And I looked the doctor, or not the doctor, the nurse, like right in the eye and go, my primary care doctor died like 7 years ago. Do you still need their name, or like what's going on? And the nurse just kind of sighed and just went, I guess not, and kind of like typed at the keyboard a little bit. And I was like, okay, okay. And then like one of the next questions that he asked was, and he's like, and you said it was like your foot, so did the pain, like, did it just start today, or like what has it been like all day, or like when did the pain start? And I go, oh no, this started on Tuesday, like Tuesday morning when I first woke up. And it's now Thursday. It was like 4:30 p.m. at this point. I was like, yeah, no, it started Tuesday morning when I woke up. And like the nurse just kind of like sitting here working on the keyboard. And you're just showing up now? To which I, am still looking back over at the nurse, and I like look him again dead in the eyes, and I'm just like, well, I mean, I kind of figured it would fix itself, but it's only gotten worse. So figured I might as well come in, right? And the nurse just kind of shakes his head and just goes, keeps typing. And then hang on, I want to pull up so I make sure I am properly going in order. I'm going to read my own Twitter thread. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so yeah, that's the last part that I actually mentioned on Twitter. But then there was like a couple other questions, and then the nurse was like, okay, the doctor and the practitioner, like the doctor practitioner, whatever, will be in probably in about 5 minutes. If you want, you can go ahead and, take off your socks and shoes. That way the doctor will be able to compare your two, feet. That way, if, one's swelling or has an abnormal color to the normal one that isn't messed up right now, it'll be more obvious. And I'm like, yeah, no, that makes sense. They like set out this little like paper thing on the floor so I could put my feet on it, so my feet weren't on the bare floor. And I'm like, that's not unsurprising. You got to be healthy. It's a doctor's office. So I'm sitting there. It like literally it looked like a pee pad that you would have for like when you first get a dog and you're trying to like potty train it. So I'm sitting there like just bare feet, like raw dog in the ground on this like pee pad. And I'm just like sitting there and I'm like, yeah, we're absolutely going to like start tweeting like all of these interactions because I can tell the rest of this like interaction is going to be just as unhinged and all these doctors, nurses are going to hate me. And I was like, that's fine. It's fine. It's totally fine. We're going to have fun. We're going to get maybe some medicine. We're going to maybe get a treatment plan. We might have to get an x-ray. We might have to amputate my leg. I don't really know. But if something's going on, you might as well roll with the punches and not sit there freaking out, right? Like, it's a foot. I have another one, worst case scenario. You really don't need your right foot to ride a motorcycle. The right foot does the rear brake, but you don't really ever use that one. It's the left foot that does the shifting. So like, you know, you might as well just not worry about it. So I wasn't really too concerned. I was like, I'm sure like this is something that like is easily fixed, based on like the symptoms. I have a very clear outline and like timeline of this is how it felt at this point of the day. This is how it felt later. This is what it, was like, blah, blah, blah. But like when I tried looking up my symptoms on WebMD, because obviously that's what I'm going to do before going to a doctor, right? The top two results were I'm pregnant or I have cancer. I was willing to bet it wasn't pregnancy. Testicular cancer in my foot. Or ovarian cancer. It honestly, Sunblade, it's both. I have both testicular and ovarian cancer in my right foot right now. And this is goodbye. I'm not going to live another. How long is my transition? Like 3 seconds? I'm not going to live another 3 seconds. Testicular in the ball of your foot. See, you get it. But like either way, like I was like I said, like it's a foot. It's not like an excruciating pain. The foot isn't like a balloon like swollen up. Like I could tell it was starting to swell a little bit, It didn't look miscolored when I put my socks on in the morning. It wasn't miscolored the previous 2 days. So I was like, it's probably not a big deal. It's like maybe like a pinched nerve or like a strained tendon, something like that. I've been going to the gym and trying to work on, running and walking longer distances. Maybe I just overworked myself and now I'm paying some of the consequences. I'm sure it's just going to be like they're going to look at it, maybe do an X-ray to verify nothing's broken, and then they're going to be like, "Yeah, here's some painkiller drugs. Best of luck to you, bud." And I was like, "That's probably what's going to happen. I'm not going to worry about it." So then, as I'm going through this whole thing, and I'm like, "We're going for the dad lore at this point. We're going to make sure these doctors understand I don't normally come to a doctor's office." To see if they start freaking out and like, because obviously, like, if I'm really relaxed and I'm like, yeah, I mean, my foot hurts, but like, it's not that big of a deal. They're not going to be too inclined to want to like test and do a bunch of stuff. They're going to be like, oh, this guy just showed up because like he has like his foot hurts today. So I was like, I need to like make sure like they understand like I don't go to the doctor unless I have to. The last time I went to the doctor was when I got mono in 2019. And I didn't even go to the doctor on day 1, day 2, or even day 5. I showed up on the 7th day of having mono, which is basically the end of when you have mono. But I had lost like 19, 20 pounds over the course of a week, could not eat food, barely drank water. And on top of that, I worked something like 100 hours that week. But, either way. So like and then the time previous to that one that I had gone to the doctors was when I broke my wrist when I was 16 years old. So since I was 16, I have gone to the doctors twice prior to today. Once for a broken wrist that I waited almost 2 months to finally go into a doctor for, and the other one was when I had mono and I waited a week to go into the doctor. So I only waited 3 days to show up this time. I'm getting better. Maybe eventually I show up to the doctors on day 1. But I digress. So anyway, the doctor finally like shows up because, you know, I had to wait. So I'm sitting there, you know, grippers out just on the pee pad. And I'm just, you know, waiting for the doctor. The doctor like does like the little courtesy knock, like opens the door and, you know, gives the very generic, you know, oh, like, how are you today? You know, how is everything? And I like look this doctor right in her eyes and I just go, another day in paradise. And she just kind of raised an eyebrow and was like staring at me like, I can tell you're joking and like trying to be sarcastic, but like, are you okay? And then like she asked like the, you know, the very generic, you know, what's your date of birth? You know, got to verify you're still the same person. You're not running some kind of scam. But, you know, again, I'm sitting there just like I've been saying, the grippers are just, they're just out, just right there on the pee pad. So, not really sure how I could have like faked that one, just like stood up and walked out of the room barefoot and like swapped with someone else. Either way. But like, so the doctor, you know, gets through those questions and like she's reading like, you know, oh, you know, it says you're having like some pain in your right foot, you know, up towards like the ball of your foot. Like, are you and it says here that you said you noticed some like minor swelling today. And I was like, yeah, you know, right around lunchtime, I kind of started to notice it. Like it felt a little like my foot felt a little tighter in my shoe and it wasn't super comfortable. So I just loosened the laces a little bit. So it was like, it didn't feel like my foot was being like squeezed. And, you know, other than that, you know, I haven't really noticed anything else. You know, I haven't seen any like discoloration or anything. Like when I was looking at it, granted, like my lights were off this morning when I got dressed because it was still dark and I didn't want to, you know, flip on the sun. But, you know, nothing looked miscolored or anything when I got up. So and she goes, okay. Looks down at my feet and goes, you know, your entire right foot is bruised, right? And I'm like literally. So I'm like I'm like just sitting in a chair like this, just like kind of sitting, like my hands are like this, you know, just kind of, you know, doing my thing, talking. And then she goes, you know, your entire right foot is bruised, right? And I just go, huh, how about that? Never noticed. And then she's like staring at my foot. Like she hasn't even gotten like within like a couple feet of my feet. She's still sitting on like the stool, like kind of on the other side of the room over by the computer and is like looking at it. And she's like, how did you not notice that? I was like, I swear it wasn't like that this morning. And she was like, didn't you have your lights off? And I was like, yeah. She goes, what color is your floor? I'm like, it's a white carpet. Like you can see it right here. It's not like white, but it's a white floor. And she goes, yeah, if it's darker, that it all would have looked like shaded, kind of shadowed. Like it's possible you could have missed it. And I was like, maybe, I don't know. Who knows? But yeah, Boulder's been misbehaving today, so he doesn't get desk time while I'm streaming. He had to get put down off the desk onto the floor. He's still alive. Don't misconstrue my words. But the doctor like is kind of, you know, looking at my foot. Naughty kitty. Yeah, he was determined to attack my bad foot before stream while I was trying to eat dinner. And I'm kind of sick of it. Luckily, Scuba's just laying right there. Chill as can be, not up to much. I already don't know where he went. So, yeah. So at this point, Doctor has already realized, one, I don't seem very concerned. I also am grossly misunderstanding how badly, you know, conditioned my foot is, like what poor shape it is in. And like she's already kind of starting to get like the vibes and like understand, like, hang on a second. I'm going to need to pry a little deeper into this because, you know, saying foot pain and, you know, minor swelling, then you look at the foot and it's like a completely different color than the other one. It's like there's like, it was like kind of red and inflamed and swollen in one spot. And then the rest of it was like looking bruised. So she's like, how bad would you say the pain is? Like, is it like it just feels uncomfortable, kind of sore, like a muscle, or is it like a really sharp pain? Like you got pricked with like needles, or like how does it feel? And my response was, I mean, I'm not really like screaming in pain right now, but like I also wasn't too worried about falling asleep in my morning meeting because like I can absolutely feel the pain in my foot even when I'm not moving my foot. And she's like, on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you say it is? And I was like, this morning it was, I'd probably say like an 8, maybe a 9, depending on if I was walking or not. But now it's a little better. I'd say it's like a 7, maybe like a 6.5. And she goes, okay, so it is getting better. And I was like, yeah, it doesn't hurt quite as much, and I'm not limping quite as badly. I can move a little quicker if I'm trying to walk around somewhere. But like I can definitely, like, it feels uncomfortable. Like even right now as I'm telling the story, my foot does not feel great. But you know. So then, she does the actual like examination, which I'm not gonna, you know, I'm telling a story to have fun. But I'm also not gonna like just like share everything that happened. So I'm not gonna say exactly what it is because one, we're only kind of sure that's what it is because I have a special ability to get like diseases, ailments, conditions, injuries that they are really hard to definitively prove what it is. But if all the symptoms line up, there's a pretty well known kind of generic, like, okay, you have to take this, you have to do this, you have to do this. And then in a week or two, it'll kind of fix itself. And then if it doesn't fix it, then we know it wasn't that, which is exactly what this thing is. So it was like, okay. So we're kind of going through that. And then like part of that was like just to verify like I didn't break anything, because that would mean like x-rays and other stuff, which is kind of what I half was thinking might be the case. Might need to get an x-ray. I don't think, like, I didn't kick anything, I didn't drop anything heavy on my foot, so I wasn't thinking that there was going to be like a broken bone. But maybe if there was like a stress fracture or something like that, or like a repeated use injury where it doesn't just like the bone doesn't break all at once, it just kind of like wiggles itself apart over time, something like that. I was like, that could absolutely have happened. So, because that's, no, I've actually had that happen before. That's how my wrist broke. That's how I ended up chipping my elbow. It's unconfirmed, but I'm pretty sure I broke this thumb doing the same thing. Sometimes you can hear it crack. There's no way it'd be loud enough for you to hear it on camera or on the mic. You would not be able to hear it. Otherwise, someone would have pointed it out to me streams ago, because I will literally sit going like this, just down off of camera to play around. And it will just crack, 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 crack. It's not currently, so we don't have to worry too much. But yeah, I was like, they said, once we kind of, sussed out, I didn't drop anything on my foot. I didn't kick anything really hard. Nothing hit my leg or like my foot really hard. I didn't like roll an ankle at the gym or trying to walk up and down steps. I didn't trip over anything. So there wasn't like a big, single event that could have potentially caused injury. It was like, okay, so if you didn't do anything right now, could this have been something that happened previously and now is starting to show up? Like if you, like, sometimes if you roll your ankle, you don't really feel the pain of having rolled your ankle for like a day or two. Like you'll trip and fall and roll your ankle. You'll stand back up and be like, oh, I'm fine. And then it's not till like the next morning that suddenly you feel like your leg's about to fall off or your ankle's about to fall off. So she was like, do you have any previous injuries to the foot? Have you previously broken any bones in your foot? Have you did you sprain your ankle recent? Like, what previous injuries do you have potentially, or what previous injuries could potentially have caused something this time? And that's when I dropped one of the scariest lines the doctor has probably ever heard. And I replied back, and I was, so, do you have any previous injuries with the foot? And I immediately reply, Do you want like the officially diagnosed ones, or like do you also want to know about like when I very clearly broke the toe but never bothered going into a doctor? I just kind of taped it to the one next to it. And she's just kind of staring at me with this look of bewilderment, and like there's a list, and you broke your toe, didn't bother going to a doctor because you could tell it was broken, and then just taped it to the one next to it. Because truthfully, there's very little you can do for a broken toe. So, you know, you break the toe, you kind of just right back into place. A little bit of like athletic tape, like the white tape you see all the time with like, just tape it up next to it. Make sure you cut the tape off and, wash out your foot every now and then. But otherwise, just keep it wrapped up. You'll be fine. Toe will regrow. And then the doctor, like, after staring at me with like this look of like terror and bewilderment, just goes, anything in the past year at least? And I was like, oh, nothing recently. Like a lot of this stuff was like years ago, like 8 to 12 years ago. Most of my injuries are like from back then. And she just goes, okay. So, and then like kind of continued with the actual like um observate not observation the check and checking out my foot, and then, which, like I said, I'm skipping over all that. And then she was asking like, uh hold on, we're jumping over that part. So then she was like, it so you're gonna have to take this for about a week. Make sure you drink plenty of water. You can also have, ibuprofen too if you need. Just make sure you don't go over this much at a time. No more than 8 hours, like no less than 8 hours between taking additional ibuprofen. And then I was like, yeah, okay, okay. And she goes, if this doesn't fix itself within a week, then what I think this is wrong, and we're gonna have to try something else, or then maybe we'll do the X-rays or a CAT scan or something and look a little more in depth to what's going on rather than just like on the surface and trying to diagnose based off of symptoms. And she's like, yeah, so if the pain is still around a week late, like in a week, you can come back in and we'll move forward from there. Actually, no, I don't trust you're gonna come back in. And I was just kind of sitting there like, I see you're catching on. And she just goes, I'm going to schedule you right now. You're going to come back next Thursday. What time works for you? And I was like, I could do like a 3:30 or like a 4 o'clock. And she goes, okay, I'm going to schedule you for 3:30. You're going to come back in. Even if it's totally fixed itself, you have to show up and say it fixed itself. And I was like, okay, that's fair. I know me too. I know me as well. I would absolutely, just, even if it didn't fix itself, just, oh well, we tried. I'd say better luck next time, but I'm not going back. So she schedules this appointment, and then we go over like, this is what you're going to be given. One of the side effects is it potentially could make you feel a little more hyper, a little more like awake. So maybe don't take it at night. Maybe take it in the mornings just in case. And I was like, okay, whatever. She's like, you can take it on an empty stomach. I'd recommend you have something to eat, at least like an apple or a banana, something in your stomach, so it's not just the medication. I was like, that makes sense. If it's something you have to get prescribed, that's kind of a common rule of thumb. So I'm like, okay, all that makes sense. And then we like get through that, and she goes, yeah, so I'm going to send this over to the pharmacy. You'll be able to go pick it up. It'll probably be ready in like half an hour, and it's going to take you 10 minutes to get there anyway. So listen to an extra song or two in the car before you walk in. You'll be fine. And I was like, okay, cool. And she goes, yeah, so do you have any other questions before I let you go? And then I'm kind of sitting there, and I'm like kind of like staring like through the doorway into like the room that we're in, through the hallway, through the lobby, out the window. And I'm like, Yes, actually. The weather is supposed to be really nice tomorrow. So where do we stand on me being able to ride my motorcycle to work? And she immediately, like from typing on her like little computer station, immediately, don't you dare. And I was like, oh man, I want to ride my motorcycle. I haven't been able to all week. And she goes, don't even. At least not tomorrow. Maybe over the weekend or like in a few days. If you notice it's getting better, then you can ride the motorcycle. But you are not riding your motorcycle tomorrow. I was like, come on, man. I wanted to go for a ride. Because I was so bumming I couldn't do it this whole week. Like, had it not rained on my way to work, I probably would have rode my motorcycle to work today. Despite the foot pain, despite the fact I could barely walk. You don't need both feet to ride a motorcycle. As long as the foot with the shifter on it works, you're golden. And if not, you could always move the shifter to the handlebar, which that'd be a whole mechanical nightmare to try and do in like 5 minutes. But I was like, your left foot shifts, my right foot's the bum foot. Just don't use the rear brake. You rarely use it anyway. So I think we're going to be this song was very loud for a second. Boop. There we go. So I was like, I could do it. I could totally do it. Especially because my motorcycle helmet is right there charging right now. So I'd be able to listen to music on the way to work because I got the headset put in it. That showed up last week, Friday. Showed up on Friday. I got it installed onto the helmet. I then proceeded to go ride my motorcycle until its battery died. Now the battery has charged. Or no, I didn't plug it in right away because I knew the weather Monday wasn't going to be great. And then I was like, I plugged it in on, would have been Monday night. It's been sitting there plugged into the charger this whole time. It's just, I wake up every morning, I'm staring right at my helmet and I'm like, let me check the weather first, pick up the phone, look at it. And I'm, what's the rate, like, what's the current weather? Can I look at the hourly? Like, what's the percent chance of rain throughout the day? As long as we have windows like sub, like 5-10% when I got to ride to work and when I got to ride home, I'm okay if it rains during the day. I don't plan on going anywhere during the day. As long as the road dries out before I have to go home, we will be golden to go. And then I wake up Monday. I knew it wasn't supposed to be great. It ended up just being really foggy in the morning, which is why I wasn't planning to ride my bike, because riding in the fog is quite scary. So I didn't even think about it. But then Tuesday I wake up, look at the radar, 0% chance of rain all the way up until like 2 o'clock when you see it start to pick up. So I'm like, man, I got to ride home at, between 3:30, 4 o'clock. I'm not going to be able to do it. So I don't take the motorcycle Tuesday. And the foot was kind of feeling a bit off. So go through the whole workday. It is sunny as ever when I get out of work on Tuesday. And I'm like, could I have the bike? Could I roll my bike? Man, if the weather's nice tomorrow, I'm doing it. Screw 15% is my threshold. I'm dropping it to 10%. I'm going to ride my bike. Woke up in the morning, looking right at the helmet. I'm like, let me check the radar. I'm going to check the radar first. Pick it up, open the weather channel, scroll through it. It gets up to like a 20-25% chance of rain between like, I think it was like 3 and 4. And then it got up into like the 30s into the evening. And then it ended up raining overnight. And I was like, man, I'm not going to be able to ride my bike again. Get out of work on Wednesday. It looked like it was about to rain. It never actually rained on my drive home. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Okay, tomorrow, if it's not raining tomorrow, we're riding the bike. Because I know it's supposed to rain overnight into the early morning. I think it's supposed to stop by around the time I got to go to work. And then I woke up with the foot pain and it was actively raining. I hobbled my ass from my car into the building, like in rain. It wasn't just like a kind of sprinkling. Like I was wet by the time I got to my desk. And that was a whole nightmare. Which, to be fair, I think I would have been more dry if I was able to walk at a normal pace and not like a third of my normal pace. But you win some, you lose some. Either way. But yeah, and then this afternoon, beautifully sunny, nice and warm, dry roads. But at that point, I was already, I had my car and I was like, I'm literally stopping at home long enough to grab insurance information and then going right back out. So, and because I have to use GPS to find where I'm going, I can't take the bike, which I guess in theory I could if I were to run the GPS on my phone and then just listen to it on the helmet. I could in theory. I also spun this a bit farther than I wanted. Right about there. Yeah. Now you can see the helmet. And I was like, yeah, so I guess I could. Wasn't going to, especially because like the whole, my foot's injured showing up on a motorcycle to like the doctors. Probably not the smartest decision. So drove to the doctors, scared them. They're wondering how I'm alive. That's for sure. It's a good thing they don't need a full in-depth medical history. Otherwise, that doctor's appointment probably would have been another hour and a half long of me just running through all the previous injuries I've had, all the other times I've ended up going to doctors growing up. Broke my femur, broke my femur, damaged the nerve in the back of my knee. Everyone thought, he might not be able to walk again, but then I was competing, and because I was able to stay a gymnast, I ended up breaking these toes and this toe and that toe and this toe and that toe, this rib, that rib, cracked these three, broke that one, chipped the bone in my elbow, broke my wrist, broke a finger. I've broken a couple fingers, and I was like, it's a good thing we didn't have to go through it. Notice that was just broken bones. That's not rolled ankles. That's not sprained ankles. That's not sprained necks. I've sprained a knee. I've sprained, no, that's all I sprained. I had tendonitis in my shoulder. We think I might have started to tear one of my pecs, like in here, like the titty was ripping off at one point. We think it never actually got it checked. Like I said, we don't always go to the doctor. But like I literally would sprain my ankle, like rolling it horribly, because we already had the walking boot. It was like, okay, when you get home from practice today, just throw the boot on, wait 2 weeks. If it still hurts, then go to the doctor because you broke it. Because that's exactly what they do with like sprained ankles. If like they'll try and X-ray your foot, but the way that all the bones kind of line up, it can sometimes be a bit hard to spot a broken bone in your ankle. So what they tend to do is they'll take like a really like simplified X-ray, and as long as there's nothing drastically wrong with it, they just throw you in the boot. Wait 2 weeks. Make sure you elevate it at night, wear the boot during the day. Obviously, take it off and wash your leg so it doesn't smell awful. Other than that, in 2 weeks, come back. We'll check it again if, we need to. And then if you come back in 2 weeks, then they'll take like more specialized x-rays and dig into it a little more. But it was like the number of times I would like roll my ankle or like sprain my ankle and I would just throw it in the boot and never show up to the doctor. Why did I need to? I had the boot, I had the braces, I had everything. So, we're surviving. And it was just such like a vibe to never think about or worry. It was just, injured yourself again. The treatment plan. No need to worry about this one too much. Isn't that right? Come here. Come here. Hello. Hello. How does it feel knowing you're the behaved one today? You're the behaved one most days, but figured I'd ask, how's it feel to be the behaved one? Excuse me. Excuse me. Thank you. Excuse me. Do you have time to talk about your car's extended warranty? Was not a fan of the spin. Hey, could you look up here? Look up here. Yeah, there you go. Now you're having fun. What are you doing? Howdy. Okay, I'll put you down. Scuba's still not a fan of the desk, which I'm not exactly complaining about, other than all the hair that's now on me. But no, like, Scuba's never been a fan of coming up on the desk. She'll sit right next to my chair, just stare up at me and wait for me to look at her, and then she'll meow once. And then I'll pet her, and then I'll go back to working. But if I don't actually look over to her fast enough, then she'll start meowing at me, but she'll never like jump up on the desk or get in my way. And I'm like, what a nice, wholesome cat. Does not go getting in the way, causing a stir. So we get to rock with it. We get to roll with it. We get to have a grand old time. Don't mind me. Hang on. I'm just checking a few things real fast. Yeah, okay. But like I went through the whole doctor thing. We did the doctor. I now have a treatment plan, and I was forced to schedule an appointment to come back because the doctor doesn't trust me to do it on my own. So that's like quality. That's how my Thursday went. How's your Thursday been, guys? Are we all having a great time? Are we having fun yet? Smart dog. You know, after that entire story, it cannot blame the doctor for being like, this motherfucker's not about to come back, even if his foot still hurts. Like, that is a very fair assumption to make. So I don't know. I guess I have a doctor's appointment next Thursday, which it's early enough. It shouldn't affect stream, especially if my like leg is fine and my foot is fine. Like, I'm just going to show up and be like, I'm good. Do I even need to fully check in? Or maybe I could even try calling like on next Thursday. Like, if my foot's fine, I can just call and be like, yeah, I know I am supposed to have an appointment today. That was more or less a follow-up. If the given treatment didn't work, I just want to let you know it did. Do I still need to show up for anything? And they'll probably be like, no, you're fine. So I may be 25 years old, but I still have people schedule my doctor's appointments for me. Let's go. And it wasn't my mommy. That's that. Yeah, that. Well, welcome to the shit show. Other than that, like I said, with work, going into this weekend, I was half thinking about doing like a special stream on Saturday, but I don't feel like I have enough time to really push it and promote it. And I know a handful of other people have stuff going on this weekend in terms of streaming celebration stuff, so I'm not going to do it this weekend. But next weekend, I had an idea, which, depending on who you are and what Discord servers you hang out in, you might recognize this idea, because I mentioned the idea to another streamer friend. I'm trying to pull it up. Hang on. Here we go. Gameplay. Screen share. So, I'm gonna kind of ruin the fun. The hidden name right here, yeah, that's me. I said this is an incredibly stupid idea, so likely write up the other streamers. Allie, Euro trucking stream, then every sub, gift sub, or bits is a drink. Stream ends when you can no longer see the road. I feel like that would cause a lot of chaos, be a lot of fun if things go well. So, looking at the calendar, like I said, this weekend. So you want to add liver damage to the foot damage? No, Sunblade. This is not this Saturday. This is next Saturday. The foot's going to be fine by then. I was told it's only going to take 5 to 7 days. Next Saturday is 9 days away. And I wasn't reading too closely like the little pamphlets, but I was like, because I kind of had this idea prior to today, I was like looking through it for like, am I allowed to drink on this medication? None of them say you're not allowed to drink on the medication. Which, if everything goes well, I'm not going to be on the medication anyway. It'll be out of my system for like 72 hours almost. Because the last dose would be Thursday morning. So Friday morning, Saturday morning. Yeah. Right? Because it'd be Thursday morning to Friday morning to, so about 50 hours out of my system. I didn't look too closely at what the half-life of the drug is and like do all this like fancy mental math, but like the point is, realistically, if things go well, I could do it, and it would be Saturday, September 30th, which means it's still in September. We can call it an end of September stream. A little September bash. Thought it could be something fun to throw in there. Get to just do dumb stuff, you know? I don't know why I froze in the middle of trying to put that sentence together, but I was thinking about doing that. Could be something fun to do. I also would not be doing like straight liquor if I'm doing the shots. I'd like pre-mix something and have just like a big jug of it. And then like a shot glass that I just fill every time. And then like the entire jug will be like a decent amount. But I don't think, based on my community size, I'd have to worry about people gifting so many subs and subscribing so many times that you'd go through like a gallon worth of liquid doing 1.5 ounce shots. This is a direct challenge. You know? Plus, if it's like, also, depending on how spread out it is, you know, if I do it as like a 6-hour stream, obviously, over the course of 6 hours, you can drink a beer and be pretty much sober again, so that whatever you start drinking, you're going to have peed out by the time you finish. So depending on how spread out everything is, like if it's only like a shot every, you know, 15, 20 minutes and of like a mixed drink, I should be fine. The liver will only be partially damaged is what I'm getting at. So I think tomorrow, once I finish editing for YouTube, I might throw together like a little promo poster. Mel, I'm trying to talk about bad decisions. What are you doing rating in here? But hello, everyone. Welcome in. My name is Banshredded Cheese, and I scared a doctor today. And then after we went through the whole story of how I scared a doctor, I was talking about how I could, you know, potentially be giving myself liver damage. Not this Saturday, but the next Saturday. What do you mean you scared a doctor? Mel, do you want the Cliff Notes version? Because there was a whole series of tweets, which I know you were streaming earlier, so you might have missed them. But yeah, I was live tweeting myself from the doctor's office today, and then I made the audio book. So if you want to really quickly just read through it, you can go there. I'm pretty sure you follow me, but to anyone else who wants to just quickly read through it, you can go to my Twitter right there. It's a whole thread of like 7 or 8 tweets. But essentially, my foot's been kind of fucked for the past 3 days. It's gotten progressively worse every day. So I decided to go to the doctor's after work today. And while they were asking me questions of like, who's your primary care physician? And I answered back, yeah, he died like 7 years ago. I haven't had one since. Don't I don't really go to the doctors that often, so where's the fun in that? Where's the fun in it? Let's see. There was the doctor entering when the actual doctor, not the nurse, like came into my room and like asked, how are you doing today? And I replied back, another day in paradise. I got one hell of an eyebrow raise. I'm surprised that eyebrow didn't like go full anime and like clear the forehead. And then like, because it's my foot, I was literally like, I was sitting in a chair, like up against the wall, just kind of like sitting like this. But I had to have like my socks and shoes off so the doctor could look at my feet. So they put down like what looked like a pee pad for like if you're like trying to like potty train a dog, just on the ground. So I'm sitting there like grippers out, like just sitting like this, another day in paradise. Yeah. And then when the doctor was like reading like the little chart whatever on like her computer station, she's like, so you said there's some minor swelling, but other than that it's just like pain, like nothing else. And I was like, yeah, I didn't even notice it was like swelling until like around lunchtime today when I noticed like my foot felt a bit tight in my shoe. So I just, loosened the laces a little bit, and I had already decided I was coming here, so I wasn't too concerned. And then the doctor, like, as I was giving that explanation, the doctor like looks like from her computer station down to my foot and just goes, you realize your entire foot is bruised, right? And I'm like, again, I'm just, sitting up against the wall like this, feet out, there's grippers there. I just look down and go, huh, how about that? Didn't even notice. And then there was another point where the doctor asked, like, do you have any previous injuries to the foot? Like, trying to figure out, like, could this be like I redid an old injury, like something never properly healed? And I was like, do you want to know the actually diagnosed injuries, or should I include stuff that I never actually went to a doctor for, like the obviously broken toes that I just didn't bother going in for? Just a little bit of tape, everything's fine. And she was staring at me with this look of horror and bewilderment of, what do you mean you just broke your toe and never bothered going to see anyone? And I was like, And she was like, has anything happened in the past year? I was like, oh, no. How did you deal with broken toes? So, Mel, I don't know if you've ever broken a toe and gone to the doctor. There's not a whole lot they can do. You might get one of the flat shoes, which it's not actually flat. It's essentially it's flat on the top, and then the bottom is kind of like an arc, and it just helps you like roll your foot without having to actually like bend at the foot. And then what they do is they just kind of buddy system like whatever toe. So like if like here's your toes, like here's your big toe, and ignore the size difference. Like let's say you broke like your second toe, you'd literally just tape it to the next one, and then you're told to wear fairly comfy shoes or shoes with like a bunch of squish. So oh, I've seen people with those. Have you seen like the full like gray plastic boot that comes like halfway up the calf? Or have you seen just the little flat like sandal one? Because the flat sandal one is for toes. The big gray one tends to be for an ankle. Which I've worn those before too. I've seen both, yeah. So my family had both. The gray walking boot for an ankle, we actually had 3 different sizes. So depending on what shoe size you were, you just throw on the boot you needed whenever you rolled or sprained your ankle, and we never bothered going to a doctor. Because why bother going to a doctor and having them tell you to wear a boot? Do you need to buy one? Your insurance will cover it. or cover most of it. You'll just have to make a small copay. And then my mom would be like, oh no, we showed up in one because we already had one. And then the doctor's like, oh, yeah, just keep wearing the boot. Wear it for 2 weeks. You'll be fine. So it's like, okay. So because I said all that, the doctor, like, I'm surprised she did not have a heart attack. She probably, actually, they close at 8. So she's probably on her way home right now, ready to open a bottle of wine and just forget about pouring it into a glass. And then the very end, right before I left, the doctor asked, do you have any more questions? And I was like, yes. Weather tomorrow. It's supposed to be really nice. Where do we stand on me riding my motorcycle to work? And again, she's like kind of like typing away at her computer as she, just, do you have any final questions? And, keeps working. And then I go, can I ride my motorcycle to work tomorrow? And she immediately just, don't you dare. And I was like, oh man, I want to ride my bike. It was a whole time. But yeah, like I said, if you go to that link to Twitter, because I still call it Twitter, you can absolutely read through it wasn't live tweeting because obviously I wasn't going to pull out my phone while the doctor was in the room. So they're all kind of spaced out. You can tell like when there was like a gap and I'd be like, okay, tweet. And then there'd be a gap and then tweet. And then a gap, then tweet. But yeah, it's all there. It is what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 tweets. With the 11th one just saying, I'm home. Thanks for coming along for the ride. If you're interested in the audiobook version, I'll be live on Twitch in 15 minutes, retelling this tale just like I did for the second time. So we did the really long one, and then we did the shorter one, and then there's the Twitter one, which is like super short. So yeah, that's how I scared a doctor. And then as for the liver damage part, let me pop this back open, jump back in here. I had an idea, and the idea was an incredibly stupid idea. So likely right up another streamer's alley who I shared it with. Euro Trucking Simulator stream. Then every sub, gift sub, or bits is another drink shot. Stream ends when you can no longer see the road. Is it chaotic? Yes. Would I be doing it next Saturday, the final day of September? Yes. No longer see the road. We'll have to find out. All right, tries and points. That was a bit of hyperbole, if we're being honest. I'd realistically just cap it and say like the stream's going to be like 5 hours, 6 hours, because when I do stream on Saturday, I'm not the best at being consistent on Saturday, but when I do stream on Saturday, it tends to be like between 4 and 6 hours. So if I just intentionally say it's going to be 5 hours or 6 hours, something like that. But I was like, I could do it on the last day of September, which is the last day of September. And then I don't know. I feel like it'd be like chaotic. It'd be interesting to see because, like, honestly, I want more emote slots. I'm a greedy bastard. I want the emote slots, despite the fact I still have follower emotes that I need to commission. And then either way, I want more emote slots. And I currently have the most sub points I've ever had, which is 6. That's so fair. Emotes are so fun. I know. I unlocked the follower emotes like a week or 2 ago. But the artist who did the emotes I currently have right now, we are not on talking terms because there was a disagreement between the common friend that is how we knew each other. So I've been kind of poking around at some of my other artist friends that I know. I think I know who I'm going to go with. I just need to figure out how their commissions work. I have a link to the thing. I just need to read through it and figure out, get an idea of pricing. Because, like, I want to be able to support the homies. I know I have people who watch my stream, or I watch other people's streams who do art. So, like, I could very easily go to Etsy or go to Fiverr and get the emotes, like, in 24 to 48 hours. But I'm more okay waiting a week or waiting like a week and a half if it means I get to support another like small creator friend of mine. So I've been kind of poking around, just seeing like who would be interested. Roughly what kind of availability do you have to get something done like within like the next couple weeks, something like that. So if I have just over a week, potentially I could try filling those follower emote slots for the Euro trucking stream. And then realistically, all I have to do is get enough gift subs to offset the cost of the new emotes and Euro trucking. And it's a challenge to my community to see how much chaos do you really want to have on stream. Because I know some people here, actually, I don't know if they're actually here today, but I have done a stream where I was like drunk before. That is not, it has happened before. Don't think it's, some mythical moment that is only going to happen once. But this time it's chat and the viewers who get to cause it, not I went live after having already drank. It gives you guys the chance to decide. And I know some people who watch my streams and are in my community and hang out. They are known for causing chaos, and this is a different breed of chaos that they normally don't get to cause. So it's my challenge to them. I've never actually been drunk. Sunblade, honestly, keep it that way. Keep yourself pure. Keep yourself healthy. We don't need to get into my background. Let's just say I went to a college that's known for engineering degrees and drinking. And I did plenty of both. I've drank, just not to the point of being drunk. Yeah, no. Norwich? No, Kettering University. I was going to grab the hoodie that's right here because it's the Kettering one today, but Boulder is sleeping on top of it. But yeah, I went to Kettering University. It's in Flint, Michigan. So if we get out my little map, you got your Lower Peninsula. Chicago would be like right here. Detroit's down here. Flint is kind of right here. Then like Michigan State is pretty much dead center. University of Michigan's here. Traverse City is up here. I'm trying to think of like what larger cities are like more well-known areas. So like Sleeping Bear Dunes, if you know that, is like right here. Traverse City's right here. The Mackinac Bridge and Mackinac Island is like literally right at the tip of your finger. And then you get into the Upper Peninsula. You have the Forest, and then Forest but farther north. And then right up here in like right where like your knuckle is Michigan Tech. And then over here you got like Wisconsin. So yeah, I grew up right here. And then I went to school right here. And then I moved over to this area. We are a well-known university for automotive engineering. So I got my degree in mechanical with a specialty in automotive. And now I work on automotive-ish. There's engines and powertrains and stuff. It's just not in a car. So if I wasn't under as strict of an NDA and I didn't care as much about doxing myself, I would absolutely tell you like what company it is and what I'm working on, because I think it's really cool, but I have to be a bit quieter and more hush about what I'm working on because it's new technology. It's not like we're taking something that already exists and just building a new version of it. We're doing something that hasn't been done before. So, which you would think would get me, a really nice salary because, you're playing around with like new science. You're playing around with like all this stuff that, hasn't been seen or done before. But no, many of you have already heard the salary rant. So I'm not going to get into that one again. But let me tell you, working on the fancy new technology is apparently not the way to get a high salary. At least for me in my position. But worst case scenario, the current contract I'm on is only for 2 years. I can go do whatever else I want on year 3. And we're only 3 months in. Yeah, 3 months in. So I'm still towards the early days, but point is I can jump ship if I want before then. I can just quit. Or when that contract ends, I can just say I don't want to extend this contract because I want more money. And then they can choose if they want to offer me more money or not. But oh yeah, speaking of college, to anyone with student loans, friendly reminder. Interest resumed September 1st. Payments are going to start being due as early as October 1st. You're going to have to sign it. You're going to have to figure out what your username and password is. You're going to have to go and look all that up. You're going to have to figure out what website you have to go to. But student loans are resuming. You got about 9 days before October 1st. So if your loan is due October 1st, you might want to start thinking about trying to get signed in. I got myself signed in for the loans in my name. I got myself signed in and set up for the loans in my mother's name, which is the big one. The loans in my name are a 4.75% interest rate. I should be able to pay. I'm going to primarily work on paying those ones off because those are the ones that are hurting my credit score. And it's not nearly as much. I should be able to pay those off by like the end of February. Pretty bold of them to resume student loan payments when I have had a regular income of 0 over a year. I mean, if you're unemployed, you're allowed to leave it in forbearance, but either way, make sure you are on top of your loans. This is just a generalized warning to any US resident who potentially has a student loan, because it's been nearly 3.5 years since they paused student loans. So there's 3.5 years worth of students who graduated and finished college and have never paid their student loans. I'm one of them. But yeah, income-based repayment. And if you haven't signed up for payment plans, you need to, because I procrastinated. Technically, I have one bill I need to pay before the plan kicks in. Yeah, I know there's a handful of stuff. I refinanced my loans into 2 single loans rather than having like I had 6 in my own name, and then there was like another 5 in my mom's name. So I refinanced all the ones in my mom's name to a single loan and all the ones in my name into a single loan. I did that about a year ago, right now. Maybe like 12, 13 months ago, I did all that. And then now I only have 2 payments I have to worry about. The payment, and then the plan is to pay more than my minimum amounts, because if I pay just my minimum amounts, I will pay off my loans in 30 years. And in that time, I'll pay nearly twice the amount the loan is just in interest. So I'll end up like paying 3 times the total amount. So yeah. So the minimum payment for the loans in my name is only like $47. I submitted my payment yesterday actually to go through because I got the actual invoice saying when like your due date is, it was like October 7th. It's like your due date's October 7th. You have to make sure you pay before then. Your minimum amount is like $47.63 or some weird number. And I was like, haha, here's $500. And then the loans in my mother's name, it has a slightly higher interest rate and is a lot. So your monthly payment based on your income, then yes, the monthly 0 payment can be, yeah. So if I were to do the repayment based on my income, it would end up taking about as long as just doing the regular loan, assuming I don't get any raises. However, if I do get raises, I'll be expected to pay more, like going forwards, and I didn't want to do that. I was like, no, thank you. There's no fun in doing that. I don't want to have to deal with the hassle, you know? So I just did the fixed rate, fixed payment, pay it off in 30-year option because now notice I've been saying 30 years. Those who are in chat and feel like guessing a number, I know I've said it before a couple places. Guess roughly what just the loan in my mother's name is for my student loans, knowing that I had an option to pay it off in 30 years. 175? No. Any other guesses? Sunblade's got the right idea of going six figures. Because the original principal amount is $121,000. Plus I have about $9,000 in my name. I know what engineering school could cost. If I went to the same school I did with no scholarships, no internships, no nothing, paying 100% out of pocket without room and board past my freshman year, like I lived off campus and paid that out of pocket, my student loans would have been $256,000 for my degree. Yeah. My second kid got accepted into Norwich, but was given a 100K scholarship. Is that, I assume the 100K isn't going to be for like a single year. It's just you get to use it over the course of your degree. Because I had a merit scholarship that was written per year for 4 years. Okay. Yeah, because I had $25,000 a year up, or $25,000 split between two semesters. Or no, it was weird. The way they wrote it is really funky. And if you remember like how my school works, because it's like you do 3 months on, 3 months off. It's a really funky, fussy, kind of weird system. So they wrote it as 25,000 a year for up to 2 semesters a year for up to 10 total semesters. Is that cost including dorms and everything? No room and board. You're not getting your textbooks, you're not getting a dorm to sleep in, you're not getting food to eat. That is just the cost to show up to classes. Is $256,000 for a 4.5 year program. And then all of your merit scholarships are written based on 10 semesters, which would be 5 years. So if you do need to take that extra semester because you failed a couple classes or you just can't be fucked to do a 20 credit semester, and I don't mean like a single one, you would, in order to finish the degree in 4.5 years, you're doing 16 credits your first 2 semesters, which is like 4 full classes. And then every semester after that, up until your final semester, you're doing 20 credits, which would be 5 classes. And because my school has the accelerated program where our semester only is 10 weeks long and then an 11th week for finals, you're doing quite a bit. 20 credit semester, holy shit, my mom told me to never take more than 15. I usually only took 12. My minimum to be considered full time, because that's federally set, is 12. Our tuition was the same price regardless of how many credit hours you took, if you took 12 or 20. It was the exact same cost. And then if you went over 20, there was an additional fee. And if you went under 12, it was a little bit cheaper. 12 is the minimum across the country. Yeah, that's federally set. The 12 credit hours to be considered full time, that is a federal, like, Department of Education says this is what it is. And that's because it's based off of loans and stuff like that for repayment and what is considered a full-time student. So universities then have to also use that as their minimum to consider a student full-time. Otherwise, the government will not allow student loans to the university. So I know at my college, if you took 15 or more, it's the same cost, but 12 was slightly cheaper. But 12 was all you could handle. Yeah, so for us, it was literally the same price, 12 to 20. Exact same price if you went, then if you went over, I want to say it was like 7,500 for a 4 credit class. Like it wasn't cheap. And it was already on top of that like insane price tag of like 26,000 or whatever it was, 27,000 a semester. So yeah, no, you were paying well over $1,000 a credit hour and just praying you can hang on to it. And then because all the classes were accelerated, not only were you doing like 16 plus credit hours, all the classes were smushed in. So there was no, like, the only way you could possibly get a day off is if you were taking all classes that didn't have a lab section, because all the labs were scheduled on Wednesday in order to make the schedules work, and like the whole university functioned based on the principle of all science, physics, engineering, like all those classes, the labs are Wednesday. And then for each class that exists, there's at least one lab section every single time slot from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Wednesday. And then you schedule all your other classes to fit like Monday, Tuesday, which is then mirrored to be Thursday, Friday, or should have done it this way for you guys. So like you'd schedule your Monday classes and your Tuesday classes, and then it's the exact same schedule Thursday, Friday, and then you'd have all your labs right in the middle of the week. Respectfully, your college sounds like a nightmare. Oh, don't get me started on how much I did not like that university. It was, yeah, no, it was a bitch and a half. I did not like it. It was way too intense. There were way too many shitty professors who were just riding out their tenure. The university felt a little mismanaged on the top like administrative side, which as I came to learn more, because administration was trying to hunt me down and figure out who I was online because I was posting under an alt account. Yeah. So eventually I got to be on better terms with the actual president, and like I still wasn't a huge fan of him, but like we respected each other. Was it engineering school? Like how arts school is mostly art stuff? Yeah, it was an engineering school. It's almost exclusively an engineering school. They recently, the year I graduated, so 2022. Man, it's only been a year. Yeah, so the year I graduated was the last year that they were taking applied anything majors. So you could no longer get an applied physics degree. You could no longer get a like applied mathematics degree. They got rid of their business majors. They got rid of it. Like literally the only degrees you can get from my like university now are blank engineering. That's it. That's all they offer. Everything else you can only get a minor. Like they literally chopped a bunch of stuff off. We never had like any liberal arts majors that you could even get if you wanted to. But we used to have like physics degrees. We used to have math degrees. We had chemistry degrees. They got rid of all of that. They're just like, no, we are an engineering school. We're offering engineering degrees only. So you can still get a biochem because it's engineering, or no. What was it? Like just like biochemistry is no longer a degree offered, but there's like an engineering of, or biochemical engineering, I want to say it is. So some of the kids who are in that program just kind of got pushed into the next one. But yeah, that's so wild. The school scrapped everything, but makes sense for the school to specialize, but it makes it hard. Yeah, no, the school was very clear from the very start. They're like, when you start here, be warned. If you plan to go and do your thing here, you are going to get an engineering degree. You don't have the option to jump to a business degree or an English major or go get your degree in stats or jump to something else. You don't have that option. If you want to change your major, you are going to another university. Michigan State University, 45 minutes down the road. You guys go and hang out there all the time on weekends. Transfer over there. You didn't deserve to get our degree. And they were our degree is very prestigious. We only give out our degrees to the people who earn them. You have to and once you have that degree, you get to join the elite group of people who got that degree. One, I barely got my degree. Two, that degree isn't worth shit the second you leave Southeast Michigan. It's just not. When you tell people you went to a school that specializes specializes within their specialization in automotive engineering, they're like, cool, we don't make cars though. We don't really care. And I'm like, I know, but my degree is in this. We only give degrees to people who earn them. Yeah, isn't that how all universities work? No, you know what I mean though. It's like it was the whole we are trying to get students to drop out or transfer or fail. That way only the best of the best get to say that they earned a degree from us. Right? So my school, they're trying to be elitist. Yeah. However, the graduation rate of freshman to graduate, just finishing the degree, not even finished in 4 years, just whoever starts versus who gets a degree is some insanely low statistic. It's I want to say it's 40% of students who start at Kettering will get a Kettering degree. So more than half of them either drop out, fail out, or transfer out. And we're not a big school to start. So what they do is they accept just about everyone. I want to say the minimum requirements to get in, you had to have a 2.8 high school GPA, and your math and science score on the ACT had to be over an 817, 16, or the SAT score is out of 3,600, so it would have been half of it, 18. They were they're very willing to let you in, grab all that tuition money for the first year or two, and then watch you transfer out. And I hated that. No offense, but those requirements are super low, especially for what they're going for. That was the point. The requirements were so easy. It was hard to not get accepted. Granted, if you wanted to get decent merit scholarships through the school so that the, university wasn't going to cost you, hundreds of thousands of dollars, you had to have decent grades. I graduated I finished high school with a 3.5, 3.6 GPA, and I had a 35 on the ACT and a near perfect, or just the math and science of the ACT, I should clarify. And my SAT score was also near perfect. It wasn't perfect, but it was up there. And I got the second highest tier because my GPA was 0.1% too low, which was 25,000 a year, which essentially cut tuition in half. Had I had a slightly better high school GPA, I think I would have gotten an extra 5,000. So, like I said, they literally will let you in, let you flunk out in the first 2 semesters, and then just keep the money that you gave them for that year. And then they're like, cool, we just made 50 grand off this kid. And now we just get to show how, we are a tough university. We have very rigorous academic, standards. That's why our, graduation rate is so low. Not because we let really low, okay, I don't want to be rude to people who did score those numbers, but they're not impressive numbers. Those are not the numbers that you would typically see for someone who wants to go to a university that's known for having a really rigorous academic program and is well known for they're having a fairly prestigious degree in the area. That's not the typical numbers you'd see of high school students who are looking for that type of program. So I'm not really I don't know. It's a whole rant, like I said. I don't get it. All I know is I started memeing on the university by making memes and posting to the university subreddit. And my memes were a bit spicy. And because my memes were a bit spicy and told the truth, administration was trying to figure out who was posting the spicy memes. And I had administration trying aggressively to figure out who I was. But I knew ahead of time. I was like, I need to not be stupid about what I'm doing. I heard about your memeing before, but it's still wild that you got in trouble for it. It's not even the university that got me in trouble. The university didn't do anything. Like, once I fessed up to it, they're just like, no, no doing that. And I was like, cool, I can't do it anyway because I got banned. No, it's literally because I wrote and posted on the subreddit an open letter to the president university, which included the president's name, which is very easily Googleable information, and it included the address of the university, which is again very easy and publicly available information to find. And then it had like, I actually wrote the rest of everything. There was no plagiarism, there was no like theft, there was no identity like fraud, there was no hate speech. Like, it was a very professionally written, like, I have these concerns, other students have these concerns, we have tried raising these concerns and you haven't done shit. Not even, I hear what your concerns are, I will look into how to like fix them, and I will follow up with you on what I find. There was none of that. There was no, I understand, we will fix this. There was no, I understand. It wasn't even like, he never even acknowledged when we would complain about something, even if it was directly to him. Because he had open office hours once a week. He could literally just walk into his office and just be like, I fucking hate this school. This teacher doesn't deserve to work here. And then he just goes, I've heard that one before. And then nothing comes from it. And we're like, okay, I don't know why you would even think that is an acceptable like way to be the president of the university. And then the second one was during the pandemic, or kind of coming out of the pandemic. It would have been like winter of 2020. The university put out an email and like a notice saying, hey, we're going to be using this test proctoring system it's going to lock down your browser, and it's going to record you on like a webcam to make sure you're not like looking around your screen to cheat. And obviously, we're a bunch of university college students. We want to cheat on our tests. We've been cheating on all of our other tests the entire semester prior. But it's like, students immediately pushed back, which was expected because, you know, again, well, obviously they're pushing back because now they're not going to be able to cheat. They're going to have to actually pass the test. So what I did was I went and I actually talked to like my friends, my other students, and I'm like, what are your genuine actual concerns about this program, this, you know, proctoring system? Like, what are actual things that you have concerns about? I'm trying to collect a list. I'm going to write another open letter and I'm going to post it. And it's not going to be oh my gosh, that's so unfair. You're going to have a camera on. You're going to make me turn my camera on. So there were kids who have a PC. I currently have a PC. My PC doesn't have a webcam. I have a separate webcam that I actually plug in and have to adjust and play around with. And it is not attached to my PC in any way other than the suction cup it is stuck to and the cable plugged into a USB port. If I wanted to, I could unplug that cable. I could take this webcam right here and chuck it out the window. This PC wouldn't be able to look at me. And again, we are an engineering like university. There's a bunch of gamers who have, you know, tower PCs as their like computer. It's not unheard of for, you know, a kid to have a gaming PC who's in engineering and enjoys gaming. And they were like, I don't own a webcam. Do I have to go buy a webcam so that I can take my test? Like, that doesn't seem fair. There were kids who like or there were kids who were like, I don't have the ability to take the test in somewhere that like my family's not going to be, or I have really bad internet at home. Being able to live stream myself to some server recording me isn't going to work. Like I have weak internet. I live like out in the middle of nowhere. I don't know how I'm going to be able to like use this system. Like my internet is so poor, I struggle to take the test with that being the only browser tab open, let alone trying to use another tab. So I don't like, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this. And then there were other kids. Specifically, there was like one of the girls I talked to is like, I live in the sorority house. I share my room with 3 other girls. If I'm sitting at my desk, like trying to take a test, and I'm using the webcam on my laptop that's pointing right back at me, what's going to stop someone else from walking behind me in their own room? Which, by the way, the beds and dressers are over there. Bathrooms right there. I have no control over when my sorority sisters are going to like go take a shower and come back out and need to get dressed. What am I supposed to do then? Stop taking my test and like, oh, hey, hang on, recording. My roommate needs to change. I promise I'm not cheating. Like you. So I wrote all of this out into a second open letter, submitted it, and that's what got me banned. Because at that point I had 2 strikes for doxing. Again, university president's name. You can very easily type in Kettering University president. It will give you his full name. Or I had the president's name and the school's address, which again, you can type right into Google, Kettering University address, and it will give it to you. So like this is publicly known information, nothing else in there had any specifics about any individual. Still got banned from Reddit. I tried to appeal it. They told me to fuck off. And then they did a IP MAC address ban. So I could not create a new account on the phone or it would get banned instantly. Any account that tried to sign in on my parents' like internet, instantly banned as well. So it wasn't until I moved here to Illinois and got a new phone that I was able to create a Reddit account and actually scroll on a signed in Reddit account. So we eventually managed to get through all of it. That is wild. Yeah, and like after I officially got banned, I emailed the president, like the second open letter. I just directly emailed it to him. And I'm like, well, jig's up. I had a good run. Just making sure you read this. I know you read the last one because you commented about, I understand there's an open letter going around, but the person who originally wrote it hasn't sent it to me, which I did. I just did not send it to him saying, hey, I wrote this. I used the generic copy and paste this into like an email and send it to him. And I included the paragraph of like copy and send, or it was down at the bottom. Like, copy and paste this entire message. You can click the 3 dots at the bottom, click copy text, drop it in an email it to the president. So I did that the first time. The second time I sent him I just pasted in the letter. And then instead of putting that bottom paragraph, I was just like, yeah, so I was banned. So I guess the jig is up. Yeah, I am like the account who's been doing all this. And the president replied back like a day later. And he's like, you actually weren't even on the list of people we thought who was doing this. Do you have time in the next like 2 or 3 days? I want to meet with you. I want to discuss what you had written about in this open letter. And that way we can kind of work through it. So that's when I actually got to like meet with the president one-on-one, not during like an office hours where you get kicked out after 5 minutes because someone else kicks the door in. So we ended up talking for like an hour and chatting and getting to actually like have like a back and forth conversation. Like it got to the point where it's like by the time I graduated, I respected him as an individual, but I hated him in the position he had. And also, fun fact, just to shit on my university president one more time, twice actually, because there's 2 things I was going to mention. One, we were supposed to have a T-Pain concert. He canceled that shit on us literally 2 hours before it was supposed to start. So fuck you for that. The other one. Do you all happen to be old enough that you remember when Pluto was a planet? Does that ring a bell to anyone? Are there any, older people in the chat? I'm talking like more than, I don't know, 20. Pluto is still a planet. Thank you, Marsh. Fun fact. My university president was on the board of people who decided Pluto wasn't a planet. So if you ever feel like hating on a specific individual for something, just remember, oh, they need to die. Yeah. And the only class he taught at the university was always like a big deal that, oh my gosh, your university president teaches a class. One, we have a small university. Two, yeah, he teaches an astronomy class, an astrophysics. It wasn't astronomy, it was astrophysics. So he literally does like rocket science, like interplanetary travel. He teaches a class on it. And the final paper for the class that you always had to write, rather than doing like a test or a project, it was always, should Pluto be a planet, yes or no? That was the final like paper for that class every single time. And then you'd have to turn it in before the final day of the class, and then he would get up and present to, like, he would do it as an open presentation too. He would like he's like, anyone who wants to can show up. He'll get up and present. He had like his like slides up, and he goes through the entire presentation on why Pluto should not be a planet. And he does it because he thinks it's hysterical watching everyone scream and wail and like throw a hissy fit over, no, Pluto is a planet. Because when I was growing up, I was told it's a planet. You can't take that away from me. Exactly like all of you guys did in chat. Granted, there is likely a scientific argument why technically. Yeah, no, like I understand there's certain things in order to constitute what a planet is, and Pluto doesn't hit every single requirement, but it hits like it. There's like 3 rules that it has to have in order to be a planet. Pluto only has 2 of them, and then either way. But it's like, you gave it the title of a planet. You taught everyone for decades that Pluto is a planet. Like, from the time you found it and discovered Pluto exists, up until the day you decided, oh yeah, no, it's not. You taught everyone Pluto is a planet. These are the 9 planets of the solar system. And then just randomly one day it's like, oh yeah, we lied. It's actually 8. We decided to take his title away. We're not doing this whole grandfathered thing. No, but hear me out. They demoted it because it was small. It was demoted to a dwarf planet, which, isn't that still a planet? Let Pluto be invited to the party. This is like the Cat Zodiac and Fruit Basket. Yeah, so like, one of the main things Pluto was missing out on in order to be considered a planet is its size relative to its moons. They declassified it and the world goes to shit. That's what happens when you piss off the god of the underworld. Yes. Pluto is just a short king. There we go. Mel gets it. Pluto is a short king. Yeah. No, this man demotes Pluto from being a planet, cancels a T-Pain concert on us. What more do you need to... Who's on my side versus his side, just based off of those 2 facts? You see what I'm saying? You don't even have to go to the university to decide he's, maybe not your favorite individual. And then people wonder why when we go through the whole program, through the, university, and getting to the point that we're able to, make it here. And they're like, I can't believe you'd hate your university so much. Like, why wouldn't you just transfer out? Or why'd you go there in the first place? And we're like, honestly, we were just finishing the degree out of spite. There's no good reason. It was either if I transferred out, I'd have to add more time in semesters that I would not save money, or you finished out of spite, or you are a very stubborn individual and you refuse to admit defeat, or the all of the above, like me. Or the fifth and final option is you actually enjoyed the university and you like very enthusiastically go back. But I literally know two kids who are like that. And they were like the super studious, like these are the kids who like ran out of classes to take in high school. Like they had every AP checked off by like halfway through set like their sophomore year of high school. So like I get it. Very, you were set up and your upbringing allowed you to succeed in an academically rigorous environment. Not this guy. I am the definition of a burnt out gifted kid. I was advanced in math as early as fourth grade. I was in honors English. I ended up taking, I ended up getting a year ahead in like science classes in high school. I ended up taking like all these, either they were like honors or AP classes, or I was just taking them like a year early. Like I literally took calculus, like AP calculus BC, which is like calc 1 and calc 2 in college, my junior year of high school. So I would have finished your like sophomore semester class, like your first semester sophomore of like math in college as a junior in high school. I did okay in the class. I'm not going to sit here and be like, yeah, I had straight A's. No, I had like B minus C plus. Like I got through the class and I did good enough in the class. It was just the fact that I was like a couple years ahead because I got pushed up early enough that I just was that far ahead. And then by the time I got to college and it was like, ha, remember how you thought you were smart and you didn't have to study for tests? That's not going to work here. And then I barely got my degree. I came real. I wasn't like about to fail at like flunk out, but I had failed. I failed a couple classes. I had to add an extra semester. I had to quit doing the 20 credit semesters. I was on academic probation for a semester. Like when I say I barely made it through, I was through on the skin of your teeth. But yeah, but you took it years ahead, so it's understandable you didn't excel. I sort of, Marsh, like if you remember like in high school, like when you take like algebra or geometry or like algebra 2 trigonometry, when you take like those classes and then you take the entire year and then you just move up a year and then you just move up a year, it was kind of like that thing. It was like I want to say I ended up skipping like third and fourth grade level math, which then put me 2 years ahead, or maybe it was fourth and fifth grade. So like I was in fourth grade taking sixth grade math, and then it was just like the natural progression. It's not like I was skipping years randomly as I went. Like I skipped two of the really early years, and then I was just like, I just happened to be 2 years younger than my classmates. So it's like, yeah, taking it years ahead wasn't necessarily that impressive when you looked at my grades and realized I was equal to the rest of the kids around me. You were just accelerated early on, which put you ahead later. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. But Mel, you said autistic, the kind where the only thing that matters is a silly special interest, and not the kind that gives me special STEM powers that makes me a good student. Yeah, I got the opposite. It's the brain thinks in numbers and letters, and that's about it. I got the fancy STEM kid brain, and that's about it. I had the same study learning thing. Never learned how to study without doing group language study. Yeah, like I was skipping homework left, right, and center in high school, or like frantically copying someone's homework like minutes before the teacher collected it. Never studied, never really applied myself like outside of in class. Like when I got to class, I would take my phone every day, set it face down like on the desk. That way, like you could very clearly see like he is not on his phone, he's not looking at his phone. I would just set it down, pay attention in class, maybe take notes. But other than that, I would just sit there and pay attention. And then I'd show up for the tests and I'd get, a B, B plus, maybe an A minus, rinse and repeat. Homework, I don't know what that is. Yeah. Like, even when I got to college, like, especially the classes where they're like, homework is not going to be counted for a grade. And I was like, I am never doing your homework then. Like, I honestly, the one subject and kind of classes that I was accelerated in that I was like actually was good at was physics up into a certain point. Then things got fucky and the entire knowledge base fell apart. That's exactly how I did college. I'd do homework and worksheets, especially for the more complicated classes. Yeah, unless I knew it was being collected for a grade and a significant portion of my grade, I wasn't doing homework. Or if I was doing the homework, there's a 90% chance I was cheating on it. But like physics, like so in high school, I took like your conceptual physics and conceptual chemistry, which is like your freshman level classes, in a single semester. Sorry, I mean, I would just show up and pay attention, then only do homework in a class. Yeah, that. Except here, I wouldn't even do the homework in the classes that were challenging because I couldn't be fucked. So in high school, I did both my freshman like science classes in a single semester, and then I did the entirety of biology the second semester over the course of like 2 class periods. And then my sophomore year, I took regular physics. My junior year, I took AP Physics C, which is the calculus-based version of physics. And then within that class, we were taught kinematics and electricity and magnetism, which is 2 separate college classes. So I ended up getting that's how I ended up being 2 years ahead in physics. But my professor, or not my professor, it would have been just my teacher in high school. He was so good and so smart at teaching that he did have like there was like an online like version of the homework that you had to do where it would change the numbers, but like the problem was the same. And then it was like, and then you just had to get like within 1% error and then it accepts your answer. So I had to do those, but he didn't care if he's like, here are the book problems I would like you to do. That's all I'm saying. Oh, are you going to collect them and grade them? Or like, are we going to go over them in class? He's like, no, but if you want me to check them, there's going to be like one of those magnetic, like filing folder or whatever things on his whiteboard. Drop it in there at the beginning of the day. While he's on his lunch break, he'll go through and grade them, put them back in there. At the end of the day, you come pick it up. And then when he leaves at, like an hour or two after the students leave, anyone who hasn't grabbed their paper, he just throws it in the recycling. So if you want your work graded, if you want your homework checked, put it there. Otherwise, don't worry about it. You don't even have to do it. I will never find out if you do it or not. But he was so good at teaching that he had one of the highest success rates of kids passing not one, but both of the AP physics tests in the country. Like, he was on the board to help write the AP physics tests. He had one of the highest percentage passing grades of students who take the test to students who score a 4 or better. And those tests, the average score is a 2. Like, it is unheard of to have your class averaging a 3, let alone like almost half your class hitting a 4. Unbelievably good at teaching and making sure we understand, not just like, here's how you solve this problem, here's how you solve this problem, but we had such a great understanding of physics by the time we finished that class. When I had to retake physics, because my university was a bunch of dicks and only accepted 5s, despite the fact I scored a 4 on the most notoriously hard AP class and test there was. No, only a 5 was good enough. But I'm retaking physics. I go through all of physics 1, which is like kinematics, which is like stuff flying through the air and like projectiles. And, we're going to throw a catapult. How far does this go? Or, we're going to, spin this around in a circle, how much, what's the gyroscopic force, or how fast is this moving? Like, what's the circular, all that stuff, the fancy, fun, you can see it happening stuff. I went through that entire physics class. I did not show up after the 3rd day to my university's lectures. I did not do a single homework assignment. I only showed up on the days of tests and had one of the highest. I know I wasn't the highest grade in the class, but I had one of the highest grades in the class. I was sitting at like a 95 or 96%. And of that, like 4% of my grade that was missing, half of that was not doing the homework. And eventually the professor like emailed me. He's like, be honest, are you going to show up to class for the rest of the semester, or should I just email you before a test and just tell you, hey, it's these chapters. You can look in the book, just show up. I'm not going to mark you down anymore. I'm not even going to worry about your homework. Like, don't worry about it. Just show up to the tests. Whatever you get, that's your grade. I will not give you a chance to earn more points. You don't get to do the like makeup points for getting questions wrong. You can't get extra credit. You can't do any of this. But you seem to have no interest in showing up. You seem to know the material. How's that for a deal? And I emailed him back and I was just like, sounds good to me. When's the next test? And he goes, it's going to be in 2 weeks. It's going to be on Monday. It's going to be on these chapters. And I was like, cool. Showed up, took that test, got 100% on it. And then when I took physics 2, which is electricity and magnetism, I showed up on day 1. It was the exact same professor. Literally showed up on day 1, sat in the back row. He's going through the attendance. He looks at the name, looks up at me and goes, did you sign up for the 8 a.m. class because you know you're never going to show up to it? And I just go, yeah. And he goes, if you look on the 3rd page of the syllabus, it's got when all the tests are, what chapters you need to know. Can I just assume you're not going to show up? And I was like, probably, but I'll hang around for the rest of the class. I don't want to be rude and leave halfway through. So I hung out for the rest of the class, only showed up on the days of tests. And because my roommate was in the class at that time as well, he started coming to me and asking for help on like the homework, asking to like me to help him study, he was asking me for help. I was doing such a good job tutoring him that he started skipping class too. And eventually it was like, I would know when the tests were. He would not know when the tests were. He was purely going off of, he would turn in like the homework online and he had no clue what was going on in the class. He's like, I just open up the homework and I just do the homework. I'll ask you for help if I get stuck. I haven't been to a single lecture. And I'm like, don't worry, I got you. Baby boy, I got you. Let me show. Let me see. And I ended up passing that class with like a 92. It wasn't as good, but I ended up still doing spectacularly in that class. And then the next semester I took modern physics. And modern physics is when it gets scary. Because that's when you move, like electricity and magnetism. Sure, you can't really see it, so it's not the easiest to conceptualize, but like we've all played with magnets before. We understand like opposites will attract, but if you flip them so it's like they're going to push away from each other, like you've seen all of that before. Electricity, you can understand, the positive will go to like the negative voltage and they'll want to connect, and then you'll learn like capacitors, resistors, you'll learn the equations you use, and it's like you'll be able to understand it. But once you get to modern physics, that's where you get into nuclear physics. That's when you get into like relativistic physics. Like that's when you get into like the super fucky weird, like that's when you're getting into time dilation. That's when you're getting into color shift dilation. That's when you're calculating like attractive forces between molecules and an atom, or atoms in a molecule, sorry. Or when you're looking at like being able to mathematically calculate and predict nuclear reactions. So you like with a chemical reaction, if you've taken chemistry, it'll be like, H plus O, and then you get H2O, and then you have to balance it and show, you need this many hydrogen, this many oxygen to get this many like water molecules. No, we were calculating the forces involved in how those molecules were forming. That shit got so out of hand so fast. Like, I knew that class I did not already have the background knowledge of, other than like I would watch like this stream is the closest I've ever gotten to taking chemistry. I've been talking about physics most of this time. That's the thing. Sounds really cool though. No, it's really cool. And I was like, I will like when I was younger, I would watch a lot of the Discovery Channel and like the History Channel. So like Through the Wormhole with Morgan Freeman or like the Neil deGrasse Tyson like space series, like I was kind of familiar with a bunch of these concepts, especially like everyone knows like Einstein's theory of relativity of like E equals mc square. Um, that is such a small portion of the shit Einstein did, and it gets really fucking scary. So there's one test I remember taking because I showed up to that test not realizing there was a test that day, and I was rather hungover. So I show up to class hungover. I'm like, I'm just gonna sit here. I'm gonna take the notes, and I'm gonna be able to go back home and fall back asleep. And then the professor walks in and starts handing out a test. I'm like, fuck. Okay. One of the problems on this test was you are on a spaceship traveling at 90% of the speed of light, traveling tangentially to a planet. So if there's a planet right here, you're going like essentially straight across up here. You're not like, obviously, if you're looking at like straight line distance, you're getting closer than farther. But if like the planet was like below you the entire time, it essentially parallel lines. The planet is stationary, spaceship is flying across like this. You are in the spaceship looking out a window at the planet, and you see that there is a baby being born as you're flying by the planet like this at 90% of the speed of light. Relative to you, when was that baby born compared to when it was actually born? Because remember, you're traveling closer as you're approaching the planet, and the lights, the light coming from the planet so that you can, see the baby being born is coming towards you and you're coming towards it. You are observing light faster than light is traveling. So you are able to see the baby born. It was like 15 minutes before the baby was actually born. That is still such a wild concept to me. I heard a question like that in class before. Yeah, or there was another one. It's called time stretch dilation, where as things start moving closer to the speed of light, they will elongate and stretch. So it'll be like if you like, everyone knows like a foot. It's 12 inches or about a third of a meter if you're weird, but like everyone knows 1 foot. If you have that, 1 foot ruler traveling sideways fast enough, it will eventually be longer than a foot. Or if you move it this way, it will eventually be shorter than a foot because it gets squished. That is the most batshit thing. Like, just explaining the concept of like, oh yeah, it's going to stretch. Or, oh yeah, because, light's traveling this way and you're traveling this way, it's moving faster. It's like when you're standing in an airplane, you're moving as fast as the airplane. But when you're walking forwards in the airplane, you are now moving faster than the airplane for the people on the ground. It is what it is. But like the concepts are cool and kind of fucky to think about. I had to calculate that stuff, and it'd be like especially like the what time is the baby born to you relative to the planet. And you're like, oh yeah, the baby was born 15 minutes. I saw the baby was born 15 minutes before it was born. Yeah, imagine waking up after having, drank more than you should have the night before. You're kind of hungover. You drag yourself into class, and then you're taking a test, and you start getting like the most batshit insane numbers where it's like, oh yeah, the baby was born 15 minutes into the future. Surely that's not a rounding error anywhere. No, that was the correct answer. I got that problem correct. I- like everyone always jokes, like they're like, oh, here's a multiple choice question for a math problem. What's the correct answer? You have A, 100, B, 1,000, C, 10, and C, 1. And your answer is like 17 million. It's like those are the numbers you're coming up with, and you're just like, This makes no logical sense at all. Like, none whatsoever. But here we are. And then you get the test back and it's like, oh, that was a right answer. Your hungover brain that looked at that number and just went, that's the most batshit number I've ever seen. But I'm too hungover to worry about this. I'm just gonna take the partial credit and move on. Was bang on correct. That was right. And I was like, oh my God. Okay. Well, I mean, it makes sense if you don't think about it too much. Like, time is really weird. Yeah, it's in order for time to fully and properly make sense, it has to be based off of a relative time to something else. What are you comparing the time set? So, like, obviously, like, a second is based, it can be like mathematically calculated based off of the number of revolutions and the speed of electrons going around an atom. Like, we're able to definitively prove 1 second is equal to this many of an event. But that is still entirely basing time off of how fast electrons are moving around, like, the nucleus of an atom. As you get closer to absolute zero, the electrons slow down. Everything goes out the window again. So it's like, in order to properly have time make sense, it has to be based off of set parameters and set conditions, which therefore time will always be relative. Which means any equation, any formula, any amount of physics you ever do, if time is a variable or a number that's being used, that equation falls apart whenever you start looking at stuff moving fast enough or stuff getting cold enough. Or stuff getting small enough, or stuff getting big enough, or is essentially if you go to an extreme in any direction of any parameter, the equation falls apart. So like even like the force equals mass times acceleration falls apart if the acceleration is high enough. You know why? You cannot accelerate faster than the speed of light, or you cannot accelerate to a speed faster than the speed of light, I should say. In theory you can, but since we've yet to be able to measure anything that is traveling relative to a stationary object faster than the speed of light, blah, blah. Essentially, if your acceleration is high enough, force equals mass times acceleration doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. Or if your mass is large enough, or if your mass is small enough, it no longer makes sense. It just makes sense if you believe that the past, present, and future are all happening at the same time. Technically, this is a very kind of stoic point of mine, and I'm gonna acknowledge the Sonic the Hedgehog screaming right now, or I'm gonna get distracted and go into philosophy and stoicism. But yes, Sonic is punching the air right now. He is not having a good night watching this stream. But like the whole thing with like the past, present, and future. Why are we bonking me? Mark, why are we bonking me? What did I do? I'm just trying to get fancy and philosophy. We're trying to be smart. Okay? We're trying our best. You're so sad about being bonked. Look, I'm using the whole power of my half a brain cell right now to try and explain like these physics concepts. And then Merc here just walks in, just have some respect. I've never listened to so much school talk in the past 3 years until today. It's been 2 years. Hours. Hey, the first hour I was talking about scaring doctors, I'll have you know. We've just been talking about school the second hour. I watched that. So you've been lurking around for a little bit. Welcome in. I hope you're enjoying. I was here since the beginning of stream. You are collecting a lot of cheese lore. and channel points that you can use for various things like changing the displays or making me give treats to my cats or following for free because that doesn't require channel points. Thank you so much. I'm glad you're enjoying it here. I should have seen that coming. You are absolutely right. I'm also noticing your music isn't on right now. You haven't been able to hear anything because I was recording for YouTube. That is incredibly awkward. Ha ha. Ha ha.
You got your baited.
I'll play it again for you.
You got your baited. You got your baited. Baited. Baited.
I thought it was a chill vibes, no music kind of night. No, I've been having house music playing in my ears this whole stream. That is incredibly awkward. Well. Step one, we're issuing a stimulus package to make up for me being an idiot. Now, I cannot promise who is about to get channel points back, but if you're currently in the rewards queue, you're about to get whatever you get back. There we are. All right. I know the sound alerts ones don't work, so like Merc, I know with the 750 you're not getting those back because those auto complete. But there's other stuff that like the hydrates, the posture checks, stuff like that. They end up sitting in. I'll open it up for you. We're gonna get a little glance into mod view. If you look at the reward queue, which is right here, which I just emptied, they sit in there, and then what you can do is you can select all of them and hit reject, and you throw all of those points back. And every now and then I will go ahead and just be like, enjoy your channel points, everyone. Because like the US economy, I believe in inflation. So but yeah, no, I have been listening to house music this entire stream. I literally have been playing. Yeah, that is incredibly awkward on my own part. I don't know how I missed that. Hang on, where's the Santa song? We're gonna play that one again because it means you guys didn't hear it. Big Bad Santa. This is the song I hit go live with. Yeah. So as I was trying to say about like the past, present, and the future, with the movement of time, you can only consider the present to be the infinitesimally small moment that we are presently in. And if any amount of change occurs between what is currently and what, is next, that is no longer the present. So like the present is such an instantaneous moment that it almost doesn't exist. So like, technically speaking, the end of this sentence is the future. And the past is the beginning of this current sentence. So like, it's so weird that like, when everyone's always talking about like, oh, I'm so worried about the future. Like, if you say you're worried about the future, are you worried about the end of my question? Or are you worried about something really far off into the future? like being alone in 30 years. Obviously, you're going to be more afraid of something that's, further out, something that's scary, or something that is more unknown to you and could potentially... Am I worried about the future? I don't know what the end of that question will look like. No, but like, if you think about it in terms of how close something is to you relative to the amount of fear that you could potentially have, I'm always afraid at the end of your questions. James, that is just because you know some of my very unhinged questions and statements, because you hang around this stream a lot. But like, if I were to say, like, I'm scared about turning 50, I don't want to turn 50 because thinking that I am 50 and therefore over the hill is scary to me. I'm 25. Do I want to spend the entire length of time that I have lived so far worrying about turning 50, which is going to be such a small moment in time that you're not even going to notice when it happens? Not this being the first moment I ever considered that I'll turn 50. Mel, our generation was surprised that we hit 20, to be honest. Let's be real here. A lot of us didn't think we were making it, out of our teens. But no, but like, my point is, like, using the example of I'm scared of turning 50. You turn 50 in an instant, and you're not even going to notice when that instant occurs. There is no stopwatch clock powerful enough on Earth to count the number of decimal places that you can witness the very instant that event that you are scared of occurs. If you're scared of being 50, that is an entire year of your life. But the more you expand out the entirety of time, that 1 year starts becoming smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, till eventually it becomes an infinitesimally small moment in the overall entirety of like the Earth, the universe, whatever. So it's like kind of a cynical like way to look at things, is like, you shouldn't fear something in the future because that event, regardless of how long it is going to be at like an event, is ultimately not long when you think about it. And as quickly as it approaches, it will also go into the past and become something that you're not even looking at. Because now, granted, I understand, anxiety is fear of the future. Depression tends to be fear of the past and hang-ups and everything with the past. I fully get that. But like, if you're thinking, about like doing like a journey, if you're walking down a road, you're walking 1 mile. When you start, you can see a mile down the road, assuming it's a clear day, and it looks really far away. And as you move closer to it, everything behind you starts getting longer and farther away, and where you started gets farther away. But realistically, if your goal is to walk a mile, even if you're scared that you're not going to finish the mile, you're not going to walk backwards staring at where you started going, oh my gosh, I'm so scared. I don't think I'm going to be able to go a mile, because you're looking the wrong way. Turn around, face what's coming, and go walk a mile. And all that fear, that moment where you're standing on the starting line thinking, oh my gosh, I'm so scared, I'm not going to be able to walk a mile, becomes so far away that when you finish the mile and you turn around and you look back to where was I scared that I wasn't going to finish a mile, it's that big. The event that had this much fear in your life, as it gets further away, gets smaller. So stuff that is far out in the future that you could potentially be scared about should also have a small amount of worry behind them. Essentially, what I'm trying to say is you should fear the end of this sentence, not turning 50. Does that make sense? Like, if you are going to worry about any part of the future, it should be what is going to happen next, immediately right now. Don't worry about something that's going to be years down the road. Don't worry about something that's going to be a week away. Don't worry about something that's, the end of your life. Worry about what is actively happening and how you control and react to it. We got really deep. Anyway, no, that makes sense. Yeah, actually, I can just grab it. It's a book. I don't know why I'm pointing as if you're not going to be able to see it. Give me 1 second. Actually, I'm going to grab 2 books. Oh, the foot hurts. The foot hurts. All right. This is the book I was originally going to grab. This is Epictetus, Discourses and Selected Writings. This is a book on Stoicism. It is about one of the Stoics, Epictetus, and it's all of his teachings. And it's written in kind of a funky way. Like, it looks like a normal book in terms of text, but when you're reading it, it reads like a conversation. Like, the entire thing is just like either someone monologuing, like I'm currently doing, or you'll occasionally get like a back and forth where someone else chimes in, because, obviously back with the ancient Greeks, stuff was taught via lecture. And then it was just people taking notes from the professor standing up there and talking. There wasn't a textbook that they'd hand out and be like, okay, here's what you need to know. So as people were documenting a lot of the teachings of various philosophers, all of it reads in such a way. But Epictetus is one of my favorite Stoics. So if you're looking for a book recommendation, this one's only like US $18. You can normally find it on sale. I want to say I got this one for like $5. The other one, which has to do with fearing the future. I know it's backwards for you guys, but the denial of death. And it has a lot to, it's not so much stoicism, more of just learning to accept that the future is the future, and you don't need to necessarily worry about something that is going to come, because whether or not you want it to, it's going to. And the more at peace you are with events that are out of your control, the more enjoyment you will take out of events that are in your control. So there's the book club reading, if you guys are looking for suggestions. But yeah, I've read those 2 books within the past year. Absolutely love them. I'm currently working my way through another audiobook. I typically will listen to an audiobook and then I'll buy the physical copy if I really liked it, so that I can reread it later. Which, I mean, I know I could just listen to the audiobook again because, it's audiobooks. But I like having the physical copies. I have a nice little collection of books, and then I got the collection of manga. And it's easier for, like, if I'm trying to recommend a book to someone, especially like if I'm in person. And I'm like, I read this book recently. I think it was really cool, the way they talked about this. Or like one of the books I got for Christmas. And then because I was still home for 3 days, I literally like immediately got the book and just went, Mom, you should read this, and handed it to her. And I was like, I've already listened to this audiobook. I love this book. I wanted a physical copy so I can hand it to people and say, you should read this book. Which it wasn't one of those 2, but yeah, always enjoy getting to share some of the books I read. Actually, I'm gonna grab one more book just because I want everyone to know I have this book, and that I'm waiting for a chance to read this book on stream. Give me 1 more second again. So I got this book as a kind of an early gift from my family to me, because I made the suggestion of getting it for my sister, so my mom bought it for me as well. And then I mentioned that I was going to be getting cats. So I have the book, How to Talk to Your Cats About Gun Safety. And abstinence, drugs, Satanism, and other dangers that threaten their 9 lives. And I am not joking, it is literally, how can I prepare my cat for threats they will commonly face? And there's a picture of like a cat and a dog. what if I catch my cat using a gun unsafely? And it's literally like, so I've been holding on to this book. The plan was as like a special that's actually adorable. Oh, I've read a few pieces of this book here and there, but I've been holding on to this book for when I do like a celebration stream or like a longer stream and I want to like step away from a video game and just do like a just chatting section. I can, pick up my boulder and teach him about gun safety and abstinence, drugs, Satanism, and other dangers that threaten their 9 lives. And this is a very small book too. Like, yeah, I happened to see like a Reddit meme about this book, and I sent it to my mom, and I was like, "Hey, my older sister has a cat, right? And she's always saying, every year we gotta get birthday presents for my cat, or not birthday, Christmas presents for my cat as well as me." And everyone always begrudgingly goes out and buys like a dollar store like cat toy. So my mom got the book for my sister at one point, and then she bought a second book at the exact same time. And then I ended up getting my cats in January. So my mom mailed it to me. And then I had the book. And I've literally been sitting on that book for about 9 months, 9 months, being like, I'm going to read that book on stream one day while holding on to my cat. I got to figure out when I want to do that. I was thinking like if I do like a 12-hour stream for 500 followers, put it in there. Granted, I'm a little ways away from 500 followers, but I figured that would be like a half decent thing we could do. I also have Lego sets from Christmas that I've been holding on to. Like, I literally have ideas for like that I could do in like celebration streams and like longer streams, because they're gonna take longer, or they're more like kind of one-off, off the wall, like whatever things. So the plan is to absolutely be able to use some of these ideas that I have, like reading the book or building Legos, or they're in the closet, like right here. I have like original vintage Tinker Toys and Lincoln Logs. I could pull those out for a stream. We can have fun watching me build things with Tinker Toys and Lincoln Logs. I can, do various other things. I'm trying to think, what are some of the other ideas I have? I don't know. The handy dandy notebook has them. I don't want to spoil everything, but the handy dandy notebook is handy dandy because I come up with those like kind of silly, goofy ideas and I just write them down, and I'm just filling out a page of like, here's all the things, all the fun ideas I have. You all better stick around, because when I get to some of these ideas, I need people to be showing up and enjoying themselves, because I'm holding on to them for a long time, because I keep telling myself, oh, it'd be more fun if I do this when other people are here. And I think it, like, especially like I'm not going to say what it is, but like kind of like what I mentioned for doing on Saturday next week. I could totally do that and have just as much fun streaming as I always do. But if there's a bunch of people here, like doing a bunch of crazy things, it could be a lot more fun. So I'm thinking as we move forwards, now that I'm, starting to get a bit bigger, we're starting to have more homies pop in. We could potentially be looking at having a lot of fun. So I hope you guys are along for the ride, whether you are just following, whether you are just lurking, whether you are just chatting, whether you are stopping by once a month. Pay attention to stream notifications. If you're not in the Discord yet and you want to be, use !Discord. You can get yourself in there, because that's where I give all of the updates. That's where I give all of the information. Highly recommend it, especially for like, if you want to know kind of one-off stuff. Like earlier today, before I went to the doctor's, or actually I was sitting in the doctor's office, like waiting in the waiting room, I sent a message being like, stream might tentatively be canceled because I don't know how long I'm going to be here or if I'm actually dying. Aha! Turns out I was fine, unsurprisingly. If you missed the beginning of stream, and you want to go back and watch it, I highly recommend it. It's been a grand old day. We had a lot of fun. But yeah, like, trust me, I got ideas coming. And I'm starting to get to the point that I'm ready to roll some of these ideas out. Like in the Discord, which I'm going to start plugging all this stuff. In the Discord, which I've already said you can feel free to join. The plan is to add a category specific to Twitch subscribers and YouTube channel members. I'm closing it on 500 on YouTube. Once I hit 500 on YouTube, that section will go live. You guys will have chatting rooms. You guys will have access to unlisted videos on YouTube, which currently there's only one. I'm working on trying to get a second one or a third one or a fourth one. And the plan is to do more vlog kind of style videos. And those will be specific to those who are subscribers on Twitch or channel members on YouTube or both. You're also going to, which part of the vlogs I want to do is to do a Q&A portion, as well as there just be like a regular, like, I answer you in the messages portion. So I'd put out like a generic Q&A. People who are channel members or subscribers on Twitch will have priority, like, access to being able to get their, questions featured in the vlog, because you guys will be the ones that get to see it in the vlog. What else do I have planned in that Discord? Oh, I added a bunch of triggers. So depending on certain words you say or phrases you say, Carlbot will reply to you. So there are 50 different words and phrases. Some of them are variations of the same phrase. So jump in there, have conversations, see if you can find them. There are certain ones that once I notice they get triggered once, I'm going to change them. And that way there's a endless stream of Easter eggs for you guys to try and figure out. Past that and plugging the Discord, I will also say if there are any other social medias you want to join me on, they are right there. There are all the links. YouTube is in that list. That is kind of my other main, like, I am most often going live, but I don't go live that consistently. Sometimes it's once a week, sometimes it's 3 times a week. YouTube videos, I'm a little more consistent about posting once a week. There's also the VOD channel that we're currently doing not a new VOD, but we're uploading a VOD every weekday until we catch up. We are currently doing the Subnautica series. We just finished putting out the Planet of Lana series, if you guys remember that from back in like April, May. So we're moving forwards. This stream right here is going to come out at the very beginning of November. So we're starting to catch up. Once we catch up, it's going to just be the VODs will go public right away, and then I just have to trim out the beginning portions. So you might want to give it a day or two, and then as a little kind of special something, the last weekday of every month, I have uploads of some of my earliest streams. So if you want to see how bad of a content creator I was in the very beginning, absolutely go and check out some of those old VODs, because I literally have my first 5 live streams where I didn't have a light. I was using my laptop and a microphone with horrible settings, and I never looked at the camera. I barely said words. I had to bribe my ex-girlfriend to show up and chat so that I at least had someone who was watching the stream, or I would get my brother to be the one person watching my stream. Where nowadays I got all the homies. I got people who show up and I don't have to beg them or, bribe them with Taco Bell. You guys just show up. If you want Taco Bell, maybe we can work something out. Get Taco Bell on the phone. Slide their DMs. Tell them to slide my DMs. We can work something out. But, hee hee, haha, ho ho. Other than that, I could use some Taco Bell. Honestly, I could too. I was so tempted to go to Taco Bell on the way home from the urgent care, but I ended up passing a not sponsored rather than having to go like way out of my way for Taco Bell. So thanks, not sponsored. They were there for me. But yeah, so I'm going to wrap up. It's getting a bit late. I'll be honest, I fully intended on not chatting for almost 3 hours. But I kind of just got going talking. So welcome to another Just Chatting stream. They're becoming quite regular, and I actually kind of enjoy it. We'll get back into gaming, I promise that. I'm trying to... The Just Chatting streams have been fun. Yeah, it's forcing me to focus more on showing my personality and interactions with chat and putting that first, rather than me staring at a game, playing the game, just talking about the game, and then occasionally looking up and being like, the Just Chatting streams have been fun. I know, right? And then going right back to the game. Where here, granted, I tend to be staring up like towards myself in chat, which is up here, not the camera. But I feel like I do a good enough job of looking over at the camera, looking up over here, looking over here where the other alerts are. Like I can see the ad manager here, chat's there. Like I feel like I'm doing a half decent job. We are also going to go ahead and queue up a raid. It's someone I have been hanging out in their streams a fair bit. They're like the most chill, unhinged stream I see. So like it's really like, you know, low key, you know, it's not, you know, wild and exciting, but also the chat is like incredibly unhinged. We were talking about docking in chat yesterday. So yeah. We're going to raid on over. Princess Omelas is playing Hollow Knight, which is a game I promise I will get back to. If you are following me and want to support me in the raid, you can go ahead and grab that message. If you are subscribed and want to use my emotes in the raid message, you can go ahead and grab that message right there, which I will copy and drop down for everyone to see what my lovely emotes look like. I appreciate everyone who stopped by, everyone who lurked, everyone who chatted, everyone who followed, being Merc in this case. Thank you so much for the follow again. Thank you, Mel, for the raid. Always love seeing you pop into chat, especially when you bring friends. It's a little something extra. Saturday, I should be live. I'm not going to promise it because the Japanese Grand Prix is this weekend, so times are a bit funky. But regardless, I will see you again, whether it is Saturday, Tuesday, Thursday, or over on my YouTube channel. You can feel free to comment. I tend to reply. I will see you all next time.